It was the year 2000. Is this working? Yeah. It was the year 2000. I was living in Noida. Doordarshan telecast on a Sunday evening the movie Sholay, 25 years after it had originally been released at theaters. The usually bustling Atta Market, Sector 18 of Noida, was empty. The corner store, the Agarwal sweet shop, had its shutters closed. My entire colony of Jalvayu Vihar, there was nobody outside. Everybody was watching Sholay. Remember, this was the time when cable had already come. So it was, Doordarshan was not the only channel. And, movies telecast in Doordarshan was not the only entertainment. But still, most of Delhi and Noida was inside watching Sholay on their small screen. Remember, if you remember Sholay, it was one of the first movies on 70mm, one of the first movies with stereophonic sound, fantastic music, great actors, including a debutant who was the villain there, Gabbar Singh. But yet, those were not the ingredients that made Sholay what it was. It was the story. And that's why a lot of people, despite watching it so many times, still took the time to watch it again. Because they love a good story, even if it is narrated over and over again. And Sachin and Anil have beautifully brought out the art of storytelling, what great stories look like. I am a programmer by profession. I can still debug Java and C++ code. I am a geek. So for me, it's about splitting things up to see what works and what doesn't work. And therefore, I will try to focus more on what makes stories tick. Of course, I think I'll go through this very fast in terms of why stories. I think we all know this. But it's a little deeper than, just saying a story is something that relates to you as a human. This was the reason why Homo sapiens beat out Homo Neanderthals. Neanderthals, we tend to, kind of say that they were somewhat inferior to us. But actually, physically, they were superior to us. They had a larger brain size. They actually looked better, apparently. But still, they lost out because of one reason: their inability to get together as people. And that was because we recognized stories as a way to communicate great ideas in a very compact way. For example, just think if you have to describe the Bangalore city without naming Bangalore, how will you describe it? Without the name. No, I mean, you want to tell your friend, come to Bangalore. No, how will you describe it? How will you give him directions? How does he know that you are here? It's these names that we've given, these fictions that we have created. Our country the idea of India is a fiction. Yes, it's very dear to our hearts, but it's still fiction. It's just imaginary lines on a border, right? So fiction, social constructs, imagined realities, that is what makes up stories, and that's what makes us human, and that is what helped us succeed evolutionarily as a species. It's that fundamental. And so what's a story? Story is nothing but content which is wrapped in emotion. Now, I'll give you a good example of this from E.M. Forster. The Queen died. The king died after a month. This looks like one bland newspaper headline, except when you add this little 2 words of heartbreak. Then it becomes a story. So, what do great stories have in common? This is where I've kind of broken it down into three big areas. And by the way, this is not done by me. There was a person called Aristotle who lived about 2000 whatever years ago, who created this and said stories contain these three little elements: pity, fear, and catharsis. Pity is not just about that, it's about how you identify with the hero. And I've given you three examples from recent tales: Harry Potter, that's Anakin Skywalker, and Snow White, where you feel empathy with the person for their, bad thing. Even in the Okawanga Delta story, it starts with pity. Pity for the river, pity for the people, empathy for those. That's how your story, your documentary starts. The story that you talked about, the beggar sitting there, it's about you having pity for that beggar. And then it goes on to fear, in the sense, what will happen to that person if the situation worsens? What happens? In your story, Anil, it was the person not making enough money to survive for the day. And then catharsis. Somebody comes, writes a beautiful statement in contrast. De Beers comes and starts working with people to save the animals and the ecosystem. That's the catharsis. So, great stories have these three elements. And Sachin was also talking about where you can use it. So there are 4 contexts in which you could use stories very powerfully. One is when you want to connect with your customers. So a person walks in, you ask them, "No, why have you come to buy?" Rather than saying, here is the jewelry, here are the rings, here are the, here is the diamond jewelry here. This is 4 carats, 4 carats, 3 carats, 2 carats, what F category, whatever, flawlessness, all that. So, but that's about what the product is. But what does the product mean to the customer? So how do you connect with the customer? The second thing is, how do you influence their opinion? How can you change their opinion? The third is, how can you make your point of view stick with them? Because what happens is, in a number of cases, the moment you give an argument, people will nod their head this way or this way, depending on which culture you're from. But after that, they go back and they forget it. So how can you make your messages stick? And that is by planting your case studies. So these are the 4 areas where you can use a business story effectively. And what's the difference between business storytelling and personal storytelling? The personal storytelling is primarily about the author, it's about morals and lessons, can be rooted in fantasy and can be long. You can't have very long stories in business. People will get tired and walk away. Personal stories can be repeated to the same audience, for instance, Sholay. But you can't repeat this story all the time to a business audience. For instance, Sachin, this thing, if you repeatedly put it across the same kind of business audience, they're going to get bored. They'll say, okay, you've done this on Okawanga Delta. Tell me, have you done anything on Kaveri Delta or something? That's the question that they will ask. So people are eager for stories, but tough businessmen don't like to show it. So never start something saying, "I'm going to tell you a story." In a business context, most people will say, "No, I don't want to say this thing." So better starters are like, I remember as I was coming here, last period, or I was talking to another client, or I was living in Delhi, I was living in Noida. Something like that to start a story, rather than saying, "I am going to tell you a story." People turn off in business situations. So how do you make a connection with your prospect? These are the little 4 steps algorithm. So think of a situation where you must introduce yourself and 2 or 3 traits that you want your customer or prospect to know about you or your business. Think of events in your life or in the life of your business where these traits were exhibited, and use that and structure it in the pity, fear, catharsis structure, and that is how you relate to people. Enough? So this is a little algorithm that you can use to check. Again, for influencing an opinion, acknowledge your prospect's current opinion. Diamonds are bad investment. Rubies are better. There'll be people who will come and tell you that. How do you change that opinion? Narrate an incident where somebody has benefited by changing that opinion. For example, your thing that no, there's no glut in the diamond market. It can all be filled in 2 London double-decker buses is a brilliant way of countering that. But you can also have the same data for rubies. Rubies will probably fill the same amount. So I don't know where you got the answer that, there's a glut in the market and diamonds are going down. Probably you're thinking about industrial diamonds made out of the meteor that fell in Russia. Possibly. So that's the kind of narration, and then close for next steps. Third is breathe life into your case studies. I still remember that. I do not know which company had this ad. This was a lady who said, I won't get married. And then the parents get her into a jewelry shop, and she starts wearing all the jewelry. And then obviously, if women see it now, they'll say, what a shallow thing, and given the woke generation and everything. But there was a contrast there. There was a before and an after that was given as a story. So, recapping, structure your story as pity, fear, catharsis. Use these 4 situations where you can use these stories. And you also have 7 story templates in the world. Overcoming the monster. A lot of stories, including our Lord Ayyappa story, is about overcoming the monster. Rags to riches, which is Cinderella. The quest, any one of them can be the quest. Voyage and return is Ulysses. Midsummer Night's Dream is for comedy. As the example, tragedy is King Lear, and rebirth is the Phoenix. So you could use any of these 7 common story templates also, and use that in conjunction with pity, fear, catharsis for those 4 situations where you can apply this. And definitely do take in the inputs that Sachin and Anil have given in terms of the quality, because this is about programming. This is logic, what I'm saying, but it needs heart and emotion, which those 2 gentlemen beautifully brought out in their examples. And that's it from my side. Questions?
We'll reflect. Yes. Sachin, come.